Hey, welcome to Gracie Schwartzwald. And Erkan has asked me, and I think it's a great idea, to basically teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu the foundational way you should learn it, and that is as a self-defense system. Yes, you should absolutely play with all the sports stuff and all the crazy stuff and maybe MMA stuff. But the way I teach it is that there are four kind of circles. We'll call it three for now. I'll explain later. These are not different circles. So what I mean by that is there's sport jiu-jitsu, self-defense jiu-jitsu, and MMA. Those are the three general ways that jiu-jitsu is practiced. Okay, I count a fourth one, which most people don't ever interact with, which is military and police defense. Okay, but for now we'll talk about these three. People view them as three separate things, right? The truth is there are three circles, one big, one medium, and one small. The biggest one is self-defense. The next biggest one is MMA, and the smallest one is sport jiu-jitsu. If you learn the biggest circle, it's always much easier to go down to the smaller circles. It's much harder to start with a smaller circle and move out. And why do I say that self-defense is the biggest circle? What are the rules if you get jumped?
There are no rules.
Okay, how many people are allowed to jump you? Okay, what sort of environment is supposed to be there? Right? What techniques are allowed or illegal or illegal? What clothing might they have? Okay, you don't know. There's literally no restrictions to what's allowed. Okay, so either for your opponent or for you. There's no weight classes, there's no time limits. Okay,
Weapons are involved.
Weapons are involved, strikes are involved, everything can be involved. Now the next one is MMA. Okay, there are rules. There are time limits for most organizations. There are weight classes. There are things that are allowed that are not allowed. You're only fighting one person. You have relatively soft ground. You have a defined fight arena that you have to deal with. You get time to prepare for it, yep. Right? But there are still a lot of things you have to worry about. Like there are submissions, there are strikes, there are all kinds of things. Okay. And then the smallest one is sort of a sport tournament-focused jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu versus jiu-jitsu. The kind of jiu-jitsu that's practiced in 99.9% of the academies, right? And that has the most rules, the most restrictions, okay? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? To practice safely, you need all those restrictions in place. But just because you're good at practicing in the small arena with all these rules does not mean that you are ready for when you step out of that arena, right? People think, okay, if I train this way and I never deal with punches, well, if in a real fight when punches happen, I'll still be fine, right? So we're gonna go over this self-defense jiu-jitsu, okay? And this is not a difference in techniques. It's a difference in, one, as we said, complete combative reality. And also, that means it affects everything you do. How I do a submission, what ranges I have to deal with. All of that change depending on which one of those circles you're in. It's not just a simple, you don't have one tool that just applies across the board. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is very simple, right? That is, what is self-defense jiu-jitsu? There are 5 parts of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And by the way, if you're not learning these 5 parts, you're not learning Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, to me personally. Okay, and that is standing self-defense techniques, right, which are extremely important. That's, somebody grabbing you, somebody pushing you, somebody headlocking you, somebody trying to hit you, the way many fights start. Okay, then there's takedowns. Okay, getting the person to the ground if you need to. Then of course there's the groundwork. Okay, and then there's striking. Right? Learning how to strike. More importantly, also learning how to defend strikes, because what is the single most common attack?
It's a punch.
Yeah, it's somebody trying to hit you. Okay, so if you're not prepared to deal with that, that's one reason that jiu-jitsu gets such a bad rap for a lot of people is they don't ever see jiu-jitsu people learning how to deal with punches, and they all go, well, in a fight, somebody's going to try to hit you.
Yeah.
Right? And then lastly, the philosophy. Okay, so those are the 5 parts: standing self-defense, striking, throwing techniques, groundwork, and the philosophy. Okay, so you need to learn all 5. So we're going to cover just a general overview of how to prepare yourself across the board in a real world situation. That's just kind of a quick intro, then we'll go into. So our first lesson is very simple. Okay, what I tell people is anytime he and I have a physical conflict, whether it's punches, anything, you're bringing energy into the conflict, and I'm bringing energy into the conflict. What does Jiu-Jitsu translate as? What do most people think Jiu-Jitsu means?
Jiu-Jitsu means the gentle art.
Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu does not mean the gentle art. Jiu-Jitsu means the yielding art or the flexible art, right? If you roll, you spar, you know it's not
gentle.
It's not gentle. You're trying to rip somebody's foot off, it's not gentle. Okay? But what it means is I don't really try to fight his power with my power. If he's throwing a punch, for instance, I'm not trying to block the punch like this. Right? It'd be a little bit more just, redirecting kind of mentality. I'm not talking about a technique, but mentality. So the way I explain this to people is you're bringing energy to the conflict, I'm bringing energy to the conflict. My goal, our battle really is about taking control of that energy. Mm-hmm. Right? If you're able to take my energy and use it as well as your energy, you will win. Mm-hmm. Right? If I can take, now, if I use all my energy against you while you keep your energy, then I'm going to have a hard problem. Okay, so that's what I kind of mean by flexible. It's this battle over the control of the energy and the direction that that energy is used. Okay, so the thing that I focus on so much with my students is how do I maximize the use of my energy? And it's very simple. This planet that's beneath me, right? If I have stability and he pushes me, that energy he's not able to utilize. Okay, if I'm off balance, he's able to utilize that energy. I can resist his energy, I can exert energy into him, all because I have proper base. That could be on the ground or it could be standing. And right now we're going to start with it standing. So first, as simple as it seems, we're going to start with how to stand. So we have kind of two iterations. There's really only two major stances you're going to have in Jiu-Jitsu, which is great. Okay, first he's going to just have a square stance, meaning his feet are side by side. They're about shoulder width apart. Very simple. Okay, now, obviously in a conflict he might change this, but this could be you're just talking to somebody here. The weight, his knees have a very slight bend, not a squat, but you don't want your legs locked. If his knees are locked, when I push, his weight immediately goes on his heels, he's going to lose his balance. Okay, so his knees have a slight bend here. The weight is ever so slightly on the balls of his feet. So he doesn't want his weight on his heels. If my weight are on my heels, push me, I'm already off balance. The weight is on the balls of my feet. Not only can I resist a little bit, I now have the ability to step and catch my balance. So this is his first position of base with his legs. The second position is he's simply going to slide one leg back. Okay. Now, very important, can I get you to face the camera, please? Notice that there's space between his legs this way and space between his legs this way. Often people will stand in a line like this, and now he has bad side to side. Or if they stand square like this, and it's more of a combative situation, he could be off balance. So if this tends to be more of an aggressive situation, he's going to be here. Okay, now he's got good base. Okay, here, you don't have to have your feet in line like this. This back foot can be turned comfortable. Same thing as before, knees, weight slightly on the balls of my feet, like you can slide 2 sheets of paper under your heels. So I'm not up like a Muay Thai guy, just here. Okay, now, perfect. Which leg goes back? Doesn't matter. Okay, just whichever one you're comfortable with. So this is the best position. So now if I were to push into him, for instance, he has good base. I pull into him, he's got good base. And when he has good base, you can exert good power. You can receive power. Okay, so the one thing I tell my students all the time, whether it's grappling or anything, is what? Get to the proper starting position, okay, then go. Right? If I just try to take somebody down and I'm off balance, it's going to be very hard to do. If I'm trying to strike with somebody and I'm off balance, it's going to be very hard to do. Okay? So our first lesson, as simple as it is, just understanding why this is important and how to do this. If this is a conflict situation, maybe I was talking to him, it's not aggressive, but the person's a little close to him. No, for now, just here. Person's here, we're talking. He's just got good base. We'll cover the hands next lesson. But it's just good balance, he's prepared. If it's a little bit more aggressive, he's prepared. Okay, what he doesn't want to be is standing around like this, kind of off balance, nervous, anything like this. Okay, and that is our first lesson on real, authentic Gracie self-defense.